Hello, and welcome to Nobody Meets Somebody, the podcast where two comedians
who are currently nobody
meet somebody.
who is famous. My name is Mary Picarazzi.
And I'm Tanveer Arora.
In today's episode, we got to speak with the awesome Dusty Slay. You've seen him on The Tonight Show, Last Comic Standing, and The Jimmy Kimmel Show, just to name a few.
I am really, really excited. I got to work with Dusty last year, and it was a blast. I didn't know about Dusty before then, and I got to work with him. And he's probably the only comic that I've worked with that I sat for every single set of his, like for the entire length of it. And I still enjoyed it. And then I went back and I listened to his albums, and I'm like, this dude is funny. He's super funny.
That's awesome. Well, let's not wait any longer. Let's talk with Dusty. All right, Dusty, what is on your music playlist right now?
Well, I have a long playlist on Spotify that I made that was all country, lasts for days. But like I said, I just got a record player. So my playlist has been a record, and I've been doing some Johnny Cash records and some old Hank Jr. records. And the great thing about a record is you don't just skip to the next song. So you start learning songs that you never even knew these artists had. And I feel like Johnny Cash has endless supply of songs. I think the guy just lived in the studio. Half the time I'm like, I don't even think he's trying. He's just in there. He's like, I got this voice. Just give me some lyrics.
I mean, if I could sing like Johnny Cash, is exactly what I would do.
Yeah, because it'll seem like the oldest music in the world, and then Johnny Cash comes in, and you're like, oh, this is fun and cool.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's great, but there's a guy I like out of Texas. Charlie Crockett is his name, and he's a new country singer that does a lot of old stuff. We got a real smooth sound. I love it. I'm all about country music.
That's good. I'm down with that.
Yeah,
I learned that working with you. I actually had never listened to country music before, but last year when I worked with you and you did a couple of jokes about country music.
Oh yeah.
And then I went back home and I put all those songs again. I'm like, yeah, that's good music.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Some would say I have too many country jokes, but you got to find the right country music. I mean, I turned on the radio today and there was like some super new country. I was like, I don't even know what this is. I don't know what's happening.
So about the ages of 9 to 15, I thought I was going to be the next Reba McEntire. So I was obsessed with Reba. I love country music. Was listening to my Spotify list, and new Alan Jackson music came out, and I was like, yes, this is how it's supposed to sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's true.
Yeah. I have a hard time listening to the current country music right now. So I totally feel that. Absolutely.
Well, Tanveer has a great intro when he comes on stage. He plays, the song that he plays, he comes out and then he goes something like, you guys know that song? And it's great. It's great.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that is staged for that show. But a couple of shows have done that.
I like it when, that's why I like to play a country song to come out to. I'm like, that's who I'm going to be on stage. True. It's fun to just keep it true. I think it's fun.
What's the origin of, hey, we are having a good time? How did it start?
For the wave, that's just how I wave. I go into places and then and I just like I go into a gas station or something and I just throw it up like this and I just keep it until somebody sees it. And like you walk into a Love's truck stop and they're like, welcome to Love's, and I'm like, I just do like this. It's the great thing, because with masks that's been happening, you can't see people smile anymore. So and you don't want to talk all the time. So you just throw up a wave like this, and then we're having a good time. I used to do a lot of, I still do some bad shows, but I used to do a lot of bad shows. I was really working the road all the time, and I would be doing these, just kind of dead gigs where you do a joke, nobody laughs, and then I would just be like, well, we're having a good time. And it started just kind of a way to cheer me up. And then I used to say, who's pumped? That was my thing. I'd go out to this audience and they would go, let's give it up for Dusty Slay. And then like two people would clap like this. And I'm like, all right, who's pumped? I would usually get a good laugh,
I think I've mentioned it to you. When I worked with Dusty, Mary, last year, 3-4 days, I saw him perform. and I'm not making this up. After that, I would actually go and meet people, and it was just like a reflex. I would be like, "All right."
I know.
And it just came out. I'm like, "What's happening to me right now?"
It's so fun, isn't it? You walk into the room, you're like, "All right." It's so good. It's so fun.
Oh, I would love you to start your next set like that, Timmy.
Right. Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, do it.
We have the legal disclaimer that I can use as jokes now. So.
Yes, you tricked me.
You tricked him.
That would be funny though if you took the stage like that, like, all right, you know.
That would be a great way because people don't know what to expect when Tamara walks on stage. It's always like this weird silence.
Yeah.
Next question: did your comedy change after marriage?
I don't think so. My wife did comedy. She stopped doing comedy now, but when we met, my wife's Canadian and I am from Alabama, and we met in New York City. So we came from, really like we were just doing open mics, and we just met there and started hanging. And so we worked the road for a long time. And I try not to do wife jokes because I feel like whenever I write a joke about somebody, it's never the joke they want,
That's so true.
They're never like, "Oh, that is me. That's so great." They're always like, "I can't believe you said that."
That's fair.
So I try not to do wife jokes, but I think my comedy changed in some ways because, the wave joke, actually my wife was like, "You should start talking about that on stage." She's like, "You wave like that all the time. You should start talking about it." So it changed in that way. And she says that she takes credit for we're having a good time, but I don't know. She used to say, she would say to me, we would be laughing. She's like, "Oh, we have fun. We have a good time," so, but I don't know. I'm not going to give her full credit, but I'll give her a partial credit.
Did you ever had a really bad experience at Olive Garden?
Oh, no. I mean, I went recently, maybe a year ago, for my wife's birthday. She wanted to go to the Olive Garden, and it's fantastic. I mean, I make fun of the Olive Garden. I have a joke where I'll say, when you hang out with a lot of broke people all the time, like I do, everything's always fancy to them. Like the other day, I was hanging out with my mom, and she was like, we were out to eat, and she was like, "Oh, this is so fancy." And I'm like, "Mom, it's Olive Garden. Of course it's fancy." You know what I mean? And, but no, I've never, every time it's been good. I try to go to Carrabba's once in a while, and it's not the same. Do you guys really like the Olive Garden? Is that why you asked that question? Or are these just
I just remembered a joke. These are, by the way, very random questions. But also, I remembered your joke, and I saw a post that you took your wife to Olive Garden.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, we loved it. We had a bunch of friends come, and we ordered a bunch of appetizers, and it's just, it's just cheese and bread, just a lot of cheese and bread.
Yep.
And it's terrible for you. And, I probably lost a year of life, but it was a good time.
It was delicious.
Yeah.
So speaking of random, so the next random question we have for you is, what would your wrestler name be?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to have a better wrestler name maybe than Dusty Slay, but
that actually works. Yeah.
Yeah. But I like, in high school, they call me Slayer. Now I think I gave myself the nickname Slayer and then pretended like other people did, but it caught on with some people, so they called me Slayer. And so I think that could be a fun wrestling nickname, but I don't know. I wanted to be a wrestler, and when I was growing up, and my dad squashed that like a lot of my dreams. He said, "Nah, you're never going to be that." He just real simply said, "Nah, you're never going to be that. Get your head right. Get a job." Yeah. And they're all pretty pumped that I made comedy work for me. But I told my dad I was going to play basketball, and he said, "Nah, you need to just go ahead and try to find a different thing."
Yeah, gotta love parents on that one. I think you should change Slayer though, and change it to like SLEIGH, like
oh yeah,
like a Santa Slayer or something like that. Go that route.
And I could, my thing could be I could have be pulled out to the ring in a sleigh.
This
All
is gonna be
right.
awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
Speaking of you choosing comedy, what's the weirdest gig you've ever had to do?
I mean, I did a corporate gig in Huntsville, Alabama, where they had it was a hotel,
Mhm.
and the guy that owned the company had hired comedy for his employees during the lunch break. So they're at a conference listening to people talk, and then they get an hour to have lunch, and they have these giant round tables where they're all sitting, and it's buffet style. There's no stage. They don't know that there's going to be comedy. The owner of the company just, and it's a microphone, and the speakers are coming through the ceiling like the intercom speakers. And he's
Nice.
like, "All right, we got a little comedy for you." And my buddy Brian Bates is opening for me. He goes up. He is not doing well. People are not even listening to him. And I'm thinking I think he has to do 10 minutes. I'm supposed to do 30. And in my head, I'm thinking, though, he's the warm up. But when I get up there, I'm going to get him. And I got up there, and I was up there for about 15 minutes. No one really listening to me. And when they got done eating, they just started leaving. And so
Wow.
one by one, everybody left, and I'm still in my 30 minutes. And then eventually everyone's gone except for me, Brian, the owner of the company, and then the people cleaning.
Oh
And
my
I'm like, no, I'm doing my time. I'm doing my time.
Those are those shows that you hope that you got paid beforehand.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
have
Well,
money in pocket. I can just get out of here.
a lady at the hotel did give us her card at the beginning, and she said, "We're looking to do more events like this." And then when that show was over, that lady was nowhere to be found.
That's hilarious. Yeah, we had Brian on the show before, and yeah, I can't even imagine. He's like, I mean, obviously we've seen him here in San Antonio, but I can't even imagine just that deadpan and then just nothing.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know if you asked Brian that same question, but he has a great story about doing comedy at an auction uh, at his mom,
Oh,
and it was outside. I mean, it's a
Oh
great.
yes,
yes.
he
And he
did talk
auctioned
about
his
that.
CD, right? He auctioned his CD or
Oh,
something.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
I
he
ask
did.
him. He's done my podcast several times, and I always ask him to tell that. He's like, "Why do you want me to tell that again?"
It's so good.
I know. I did comedy at my dad's high school reunion a couple of years ago, and it was in the daytime in a lunchroom, and it was everybody that had ever graduated from this school of his that's since closed, and there was people from 50 all the way to 90 in the room, and it was daytime. I got very little laughs, but everybody came up and said how much they enjoyed it. But it's like one guy came by on a wheelchair and he said, "Once I learned to listen to you, you were really funny." And I was like, "Oh, okay, all right then."
I'm glad I can help with that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He had to. I
Once
guess
I
he.
learned.
Yeah, he was saying I had to get your rhythm. I had to get what you were doing, but once I got it,
Nailed it. Good
yeah,
heavens.
yeah.
I wonder if after the show they were just like, "Oh, that's what's his name's kid. Let me go talk to him. He's a good kid."
I know. I think so. I think
Oh
that's what they
man.
did. But
No heaven. I got nothing on that one.
and then they bought CDs, and I thought, well, I got a bunch of weed jokes on there. I hope they. It's like it's clean, but I was up here doing super clean at this reunion, and now you're gonna get home and hear my weed jokes.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Next question I have. Ooh, what is your favorite excuse?
Oh, well, I hate to give it away. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I
wait, have
mean,
you used it on us? Have you used it on us already?
no. Well, no. Actually, I had surgery, and that's what happened the last time. And I don't even know if it's been a wild year. Everybody talks about 2020. 2021 has been wild for me. I spent 4 days in the hospital with a ruptured appendix, and then they basically sent me home with antibiotics to let it heal. And then, surprise, surprise, I was back later to get it removed and spent 6 days in the hospital with pretty serious abdominal surgery. I've never been in the hospital in my whole life, and now I've been in there 10 days this year. And then my wife has a baby, so I spent another couple of days in the hospital. But I don't know. I mean, my excuses are, I don't know. I try to not commit to things, but I like to try to see, like, I'll be like, yeah, I'll do that. And then as we get close, I try to see if people follow up with me. And then if they don't, I'm like, oh, I forgot about it. And
See, for someone who books comedians on this show, I'm 100% familiar with this tactic.
yeah,
100%.
I do tell people sometimes, I say, follow up with me. I say, I won't be annoyed by you following up with me, but if you don't, I will forget. And I do, like, I have to put things down in my phone right away when I say yes to something, or I will forget.
Right.
Because I just get caught up doing stuff, and and then it's like, I don't know, like, I got all these videos that I need to edit. They're already filmed. I just got to edit them and put them on the internet. And my agent has me doing a show, and she was like, will you send us 3 videos of you just promoting the show? Super easy stuff. I mean, I put it off for like a week. I would message her and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to try to work on those today. And when I did it, it took 2 minutes. It's like, what? But I had to, I got to put on a shirt, and I got, I'm like,
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah, that's happened to me as well. Like, but I gotta do more than a shirt. I gotta do all this. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't want to hear from either of you guys. Having to put on a full makeup, be somewhat. Yeah, come on. You guys got so much leeway. I gotta put a shirt on. It doesn't even have to be clean.
Well, this is the weird thing, is like my hair, right? Like, it's not that I'm trying to fix my hair, but I don't want my hair to be greasy. So I'm like, well, I got to shower. And then when I shower, my hair's got to dry for a while. So this is.
Hey, man, like, I get you. I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, no makeup.
For that.
I do wish I could put makeup on sometimes. I don't know what happens to my skin. I do wish that was, sometimes I'm like, I could use a little, I don't know, whatever they call that, foundation.
Hey, every man needs to realize they need to have a proper skin routine, especially if you travel. A skin routine makes a difference. Yeah,
I mean, my face looks pretty good from what it's been. I mean, I get on the road and I eat bad, and I'm flying around, and I'm not very good about washing my hands. I know people hate hearing that, but I'm not very good at it. And I'm touching my face, and then I go, oh, why's my face all broke out? Well,
it's your turn to review.
Yeah. So have you written any fish jokes since last comic standing?
I mean, I was pretty scarred from fish jokes.
Yes.
When Keenan Ivory Wayans tells you, I just didn't think it was funny. It's hard to even, like, I don't even know Keenan Ivory Wayans as a stand-up, so I don't have jokes to compare. But when somebody tells you that, you're like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't be doing these, even if they've gotten laughs a bunch of other times.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think if I have wrote a fish joke. I feel like I have. I feel like there was a fish joke. I definitely wrote a joke about flies. I got some animal jokes here and there. Well, you know what? I had a joke about a country song called "Fishing in the Dark," and I said I'd never been fishing in the dark. And my friend gave me a tag that I'm thinking of using. He said, if you go deep sea fishing, those fish swim in schools. But in Alabama, our fish don't go to school.
That's a nice tag.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing, when I was supposed to be on Last Comic Standing, my and I don't know if you've seen that video that I did, but my roommate at the time was big into How I Met Your Mother, and there was a scene where I guess it was Jason Segel tried stand up, and he did fish jokes.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about how many different kinds of fish there are, and the names of those fish? Trout. Am I right? Sturgeon. I don't think so, pal. Salmon. Bass. This guy over here knows what I'm talking about. Halibut. Thank you. Good night.
So we watched that, and then like weeks later, we're about to do that in my room. I go, I'm worried about how this is going to go, and he's like, well, at least you won't be doing fish jokes. And I was like, oh gosh.
It's foreshadowing, guys.
Yes.
Foreshadowing.
But on the show they went really well. I just got tired of the jokes, and then it's like, it's one of those things, like some jokes I'll bring back after not doing them for a long time, but others I'm like, it's just time to let them go.
I've listened to the goldfish one. That's one of my favorite jokes of yours.
Oh, thank you.
I enjoy listening to that one.
What comedian is your favorite currently?
I don't even know that I mean, like this album right here, I don't know, this album, Steve Martin, Let's Get Small, that's one of my favorite albums of all time. I wouldn't say Steve Martin's my favorite comedian, but that album is so great. It's so silly. And it's just, I think it's super fun. And I listen to that and I think, man, I don't even know the word, but I feel like I ripped Steve Martin off in some of the things. I was listening the other day and he's like, we're having some fun now. Right. And I'm like, we're having a good time. Right. That's the first Daniel Tosh album. Now I haven't listened to that in a long time, but I really liked it. The Gary Goldman album where he had the grapefruits of wrath joke.
Right.
That joke. I mean, I think that joke I got a joke about letters of the alphabet. And I think it was partially inspired by that grapes joke, because he just went into such detail about grapes. And I feel like there are certain things, if you just sit down and you're like, how many details can I think of about this? There's a lot of details about stuff. My 5 o'clock somewhere joke that I have, it's like, when you just sit down and really analyze something, you're like, wow, there's a lot here.
You talked about a lot of like other people's bits and your favorite albums of other people. What's your favorite bit of yours?
I feel like it changes all the time. One for a long time that I like was this joke that I have about the heat index.
Yes.
And I thought I would never not tell that joke. To me, that was the greatest joke at the time. And I thought I would never not tell that joke. And then the next joke became my Goodwill TV joke. I mean,
oh yeah.
And then I was doing a joke about tornadoes in the trailer park, and I thought I would never not tell that joke. But you know what? I think it's a really short joke, but I think a joke that I've told the longest, and I've stopped telling it as much, but I'll still throw it in now and then, is an ice cream joke that I have, where I just say, I never got ice cream growing up. My mom used to just pour milk into a bowl, and then she'd call me into the room and go, well, you're too late, and it works like 99% of the time.
Yeah.
And I have no other joke like that I can almost guarantee will work. In fact, if I do the ice cream joke and it doesn't work, I hate the audience. And I don't know what you want from me.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah.
I remember that. I listened to that joke. I think it was on your album. And then I came back home. I told it to my wife. That was the weekend that I was hosting for you. And I told her, and she loved it. And she's like, okay, I'll go watch this guy.
Oh, yeah.
That's how she got it. Yeah.
Well, we talked about the pandemic. We obviously all had a lot of time on our hands. What TV show or movie were you watching?
Well, the most recent thing I got into was Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, I liked Karate Kid. I wouldn't say I loved Karate Kid, but I liked it. I mean, there's that scene where, Mr. Miyagi, when he reveals to Daniel what the plan has been all along about, sanding and painting. I mean, that gets me every time. I get chills when he does it, because Daniel, he's so fed up. He's just like, this is BS, man. And then he hits him with it. And it's just like, whoa, and Cobra Kai, it has done such a good job about bringing in all these different characters. Like when, I don't know what season it was, but Daniel went back to Okinawa and finds the girl that he rescued off the dam or whatever. I don't remember the movie that well. And then she saves his business. I'm like, oh, I want every 80s movie to be the sequel to be a TV show. That's what I want.
Nice.
Yeah, they've done it really well. I agree.
Because I just appreciate it from all the callbacks and stuff, because that's really what it is just a bunch of callbacks to a movie that we all watched. Right. Even if we just watched it one time and forgot about it. And then, at some point you're like, actually, I'm just watching a karate movie about high school kids. You're like, you've tricked me into watching a high school karate movie.
It's pretty much High School Musical. Yes.
Yeah. But I don't get too into TV shows. I watched Breaking Bad, and recently me and my wife started watching that again, and I'm like, that's still really good.
Yeah.
I don't get too into TV shows. I watched the British version of The Office recently, which blew my mind because I love The Office, right? I thought it was and I watched it at the beginning of the pandemic. I started watching it. And then my wife bought me the UK version, and I wouldn't watch it. I just was like, it's something, even though I know it's the original, something didn't feel right. I'm like, and then I started watching it, and I'm like, oh, this is so much better. I mean, I still like the American version, but I'm like, this is better.
Right.
Like the Dwight character in the UK version, I'm like, no, I believe this guy. I know that guy.
Yeah. Yeah,
Dwight
he's far more irritating than the American Dwight, right?
Yeah. I mean, like this guy, I'm like, I know that guy. I've worked with him before. You know?
We all have known a Dwight, yes.
Yeah. But the Dwight Schrute in the American, I mean, he's funny, but it's like he's extreme.
Yeah.
But
I feel like I've worked with both Dwights.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. We have all had those, are just a little too much.
But the thing that's great is that it's like with Steve Carell's character, he always has some wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he'll be super loser guy, but then he has a big win that saves the business. In the UK version, I mean, Ricky Gervais, I mean, of course, he ends up with a woman at the end, and it seems like it's a happy ending, but he was a loser the whole way through. And in the end, he got fired, and he kept hanging out at his old job. We all know that guy, the guy that got fired and keeps hanging out. And it's like, even with comedy, like a weird thing, like I feel like I can't party at the club. Like I know that people do that.
Yeah.
Just work in like a professional world for so long that I'm like, I need to get out of here to let loose. I can't be hanging out here. Like, I've done some CBD at the club before, and then, I'm all high and I'm like, I don't like this. I don't know why I'm here. The club manager could care less that I'm doing it, but I'm like, he's judging me.
No, it's the same thing of just like, where you work, you don't want to screw up where you work, and that whole view. I don't drink before I go on stage. I don't drink anytime I'm out doing a show. That's just I do drink, just not when I'm doing comedy.
Right? Yeah.
So it's like a separation for me. It's like, I can't mess up my worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've all gotten drunk with like with our our wait and tables buddies, and then do something stupid. I say I have many times, and then you got to go back to work the next day. Like I've done a shot of liquor before going to work just so I would not be as embarrassed of myself, going in. That's why I haven't drank since 2012, but I've definitely been like, oh man, last night was super embarrassing and I got to go back. I'd be working the night shift. I'm not doing a 9 a.m. shot, but not that a 2 p.m. shot. Yeah.
One of the reasons, one of the reasons I think I really, really liked you working with you was there wasn't that pressure that I have to hang out with you. Not that I didn't want to hang out with you, but it wasn't like an obligation. So most of the headliners I work, there's the after party. The thing as a host, you're supposed you can't say no to that. Like it's kind of rude.
Yeah, and I felt, we talk about excuses. I felt like your excuse was always like, I gotta go hang out with my wife.
That is my excuse, exactly. Which is true, but I didn't feel that pressure with you. Yeah.
But I also don't want to pressure anyone because I'm not doing anything. What am I gonna say? Come sit with me somewhere and let's talk.
Come watch Breaking Bad with me.
Yeah, it's like I'm not doing anything. Like I think it was Barry Lemonak was with us, and I would get him. He would come have a cigar with me, but not every night. You know, so I'll rope people into a cigar usually, and if they don't smoke them a lot, the next day they feel bad and their mouth is all chalky, and they're like, I'm not doing that again.
What is one of the best compliments you've ever received?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I've gotten some nice things from people. I mean, I like to be clean, but as a comic, but I don't want people. I don't want it. Well, that's weird. Huh? In general, I like to be clean.
That was a weird distinction.
Yeah, but I like to do clean comedy, right? But I don't necessarily want people to know that I'm doing clean comedy, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want my show to be advertised as clean. I just want it to be comedy that just happens to be clean. And one time after a show in Charlotte, North Carolina, a real pretty drunk lady came up to me and she goes, "Hey, thanks for not cussing so much." And I really like that compliment because I didn't cuss at all. And so that lady recognized that I didn't cuss a lot, but she didn't realize I didn't cuss at all. I did a Nashville Squares, which was a show that they filmed in LA. It was supposed to be a country version of Hollywood Squares. I have a video I'm working on right now of that episode, and because it was terrible. They cut all my jokes. The show didn't last.
Wow.
But Bob Saget was the host, and even though I didn't feel like my jokes that I said went really well, but I didn't have many. But Bob Saget said to me, he said, "You're really funny at the end." And I appreciated that because I was like, I didn't get a lot of chances to be funny. So the fact that he, I felt like he recognized it in just a few jokes. I felt like that was fun.
Okay, I'm going to do something different this time. We will do a lightning round. I'll ask you 6, 7 questions. Don't think, just answer whatever comes to your mind first.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. I'll try.
All right.
I'm not always good at the lightning rounds, but I'm ready.
All right. This is easy. Favorite food?
I feel like I like meat. I like beef. I love beef. I like steak and I love chicken. But I like pizza. And what I mean?
This is the worst lightning round.
Yeah,
I like beef. Sorry. I like chicken. I like pizza. So you just like food, Dusty.
Yeah. Well, I tried to be vegetarian I wasn't trying to be, I was just trying to cut out meat, and I was trying to see I was just like, I want to see how my body will feel. And I did not like it. I did not feel good. Yeah.
All right. Second question. What do you prefer? A phone call or text?
Oh, text.
Perfect. Right answer. What superpower would you want?
I think flying. Flying is the one that everybody says, but it would be the best.
What 3 things would you bring to a deserted island?
Oh, I would bring a tent. I would bring a way to catch food, like a fishing pole, and a knife.
Awesome. All right. Nate Bargatze or Gary Gulman?
Nate Bargatze. All right, we're in a lightning round, so I can't explain why. But I like Gary Gulman too.
We'll come back. Yeah. Sam Morril or Mark Norman?
Mark Norman.
Bill Burr or Dave Chappelle?
Oh, that's tough. I'm going to go Bill Burr, though. I like Bill Burr.
Awesome. Favorite thing to eat at Olive Garden, apart from bread and cheese?
Oh, gosh. I had some raviolis there.
All right.
Beef raviolis, which were really good.
All right. That's a good lightning round. Thank you. You did great.
Thank you. All right.
I do want to know about
Nate. Yeah.
Nate.
I could talk about all of them, because when you asked about favorite comics, I blanked, but now you've said all of those people and I'm like, oh, all of those could be. Well, Gary Gulman, I feel like I used to be a huge fan, but he's been doing, and I guess he went through some stuff, but he's been doing a lot of like depression stuff. And I'm just not into depression comedy. Right. And Nate is so much like, I don't know. I mean, Nate, I feel like is relatable to everyone in some way, but I feel like we have such a similar background that I'm always getting what Nate's talking about. I mean, he even like his whole college experience, he talks about going to community college for like a year. I went to community college for like 2 days. Like, I'm totally on board at that. And then Sam Morril is darker than Mark Norman, right? So that's what gives Mark Norman the edge to me. I think Mark Norman is fun and silly. I like Sam Morril a lot too, but he's a bit darker. I don't know. I like early Dave Chappelle. I mean, I love all that stuff. But I also like the earlier Bill Burr. I feel like if people get too great and everybody likes them too much, then they become like, they're too good. And now everything they say, people laugh at. And it's hard to gauge if you're actually being funny. True. But I don't know, maybe Juicy, whatever he did, Juicy Smouye or whatever he did, Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, that was really funny. I mean, that gives him a bit of an edge. But Bill Burr has got some, I don't know. He's got some great stuff too.
Yeah.
I don't know. there was a Dave Chappelle. I mean, the Dave Chappelle show is probably the greatest show ever written. And there was a copy and print. I used to go print a lot of flyers at a copy and print store, and they were always so rude to me. And then Dave Chappelle had this great copy and print episode where they're so rude to the customers, and I'm like, this is perfect. And I thought Bill Burr was in that episode, and I pulled it up the other day, and it's the other redheaded guy. He's an actor, and he started doing comedy. I don't know. He's been in a lot of stuff. I can't think of his name, but it wasn't Bill Burr, but it was, what is his name?
Michael Rappaport.
Michael Rappaport.
Yeah. My Google skills are awesome.
Yeah. And but that sketch is so funny. I kept calling it a skit. I mean, I'm a dad now, so that's what's happening. I call jokes skits.
Those adorable skits.
Yeah.
Well, Dusty, we definitely want to thank you for being on the show. And before we close out the show, we ask one last question to every guest. When someone Googles you, what would you like your autocomplete to be? Dusty, Slay.
Dusty Slay, we're having a good time, I think. I mean, that's really what I want when people think about my comedy, is think about having a good time, and I want everybody that comes to my show to leave feeling better than when they got there.
That's great. Well, we definitely appreciate you giving us time and on this busy schedule of yours. Definitely want to go and check out dustyslay.com where all your up-to-date dates are, so people can check you out across the country. Just thank you again, Dusty. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And I hope to see you guys when I get to come to San Antonio again.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah. All right. That was a great episode. This is the first time we did the lightning round, and I think it went okay.
I think we could definitely get better, but it's really fun to ask these questions super quickly to see what the response is like immediately. I love that. This was fun. Dusty was great to play along with our silly game.
Oh, and I really want to know. I actually am looking forward for Dusty's new fish jokes. Like maybe you could just start writing 30 minutes of fish jokes.
Who knows? Well, I think this was a great show for this week. As always, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. You can catch our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere where great podcasts are. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and if you really, really like it, please share with all your friends, family, and enemies. Till next time, I'm Mary Picarazzi.
And I'm Tanvir Arora.